To do. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started. People may jump in at any time. We won't waste a lot of your time, but we'll jump in. Want to introduce you first to the class, talk to you about some things to expect, and then get to the actual core of the conversation today. I'm Dr. Robinson, one half of the instructors for this course coming next spring. Have Dr. Hunter introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the course and some course basics, and then we'll go into our main discussion.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Will Hunter. Appreciate y'all being here and appreciate you registering for the course. The course is ICL4703. We are the book, hopefully it's great on your pocketbooks, but the content is great, is Christopher Emdin, the Hip Hop Ed, the compilation of hip hop and education. So the course meets on Mondays, as you know, 1 to 4. Within those 15 weeks, our hope is to go to the Civil Rights Museum and also go to Central Barbecue to have a potential discussion that's associated with content of the course, and then transition to the Civil Rights Museum. We're working on guest speakers right now, but to give you the rationale for the course, the main focus what we're looking at is giving you history of hip hop, and then seeing how hip hop could be used as a tool in terms of education. So the two frameworks we're looking at is critical media pedagogy and culturally relevant pedagogy. And with culturally relevant pedagogy, it's essential for the learner, especially using that critical lens, to know context and history. Hence, why we have to combine both of the history of hip hop and then how hip hop could be used as an educational tool within this course. We're not restricting it to those who want to be teachers, but how could it be an educational tool within the community? How it could be used as an educational tool within your life. Hip hop is interactive, and that's one of the many components that we're going to focus on within this semester. Dr. Robinson.
All right, yes, and another major piece of this is that we don't want to just give content to you. We want you to also bring content to us. We create content. So one of our major projects will be actually showcasing content that you create. We'll talk a little deeper about it because there's many components to what you can actually do. So do you have to rap? No. It's the music, the lyrics, the culture becomes the background or the lens by which we look at society. So we may come in one day and talk about the concept of family and then bring some music that talks about that concept and how we can define, extend, or even redefine that concept and use it through hip hop to do so. So I want you to think about, while we have this time before the semester begins, and certainly once the semester is in full swing, I want you to start thinking about how certain songs you listen to help define certain social realities that you see, and who of your favorites do that best. And when you come in with that content, come in with the lyrics, come in with the song, come in with a time to really want to discuss your piece. We'll be doing the same thing. So we're preparing right now. Like, I have tons of stuff in my mind and content around that I can just take societal concepts and talk about the music, go into the lyrics, then go into the larger picture of how to teach that or how to even see it when it's being taught. All of you, to some degree, are educators, even if you're doing your education in your respective field. So you don't have to be an education major to be an educator. So with that said, I want to talk to you real tonight about a topic that we argue about often. I think they even made a movie about this called Top 5.
Chris Rock.
Yeah, but everybody has their top 5 rapper slash lyricist slash entertainer slash celebrity or what have you. And oftentimes I get into debates, I don't as much anymore, about top 5 rappers and things like that. So I wanted to share with you mine. Dr. Hunter will share with you his, and then we'll talk. So for me, during any point in time of this, if you have a question, jump right in, and ask your question, and we'll deal with it from there. But first, let me give you 2 things. One is my disclaimer. I'm old. Um, so let's go ahead and get that off the table and get you comfortable with that. I'm 47. I'll be 48 next week. So I came into hip hop about 1978 or 79. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, but I had cousins in New York who would bring me like this music, and it was different. So I was listening to what they were saying with some live tapes. It wasn't even like recorded albums. It was someone had been at a party with a tape recorder, and it recorded these things. And I listened to it, but I'm from DC, and we had a whole new music genre there. And then when I came into organized rap and stuff like that, I just latched on to it, and I would get these mixtapes from New York, and that's how I kind of came into this music. So it was part of me growing up. Now, if I tell you 78, 79, I'm talking I was 7 or 8 years old. So from that point on, that's been part of my life. So that's my one disclaimer. Two, if you ever talk about your top 5 or top whatever in anything, you have to develop a criteria. You have to develop some rules by which you evaluate who becomes your top of anything. So even I look at top 5 basketball players, or top 5 football players, or top 5 boxers, you have to determine your criteria. So I'm gonna share with you mine. So these are my criteria. It don't have to be yours. But for me, to be a top lyricist in hip hop, you have to meet 3 criteria. You have to have flow and complexity of your words. So you have to be able to enter your rhyme, what we call cadence. How you enter the rhyme is important. How you exit the rhyme is important. You have to be within that period of entering and exiting. You have to say some things that for me are complex. Now, I tend to think that a lot of times people's rappers correspond with your reading level. So for me, I'm not saying that I have a very high reading level, but I am a doctor. So I'm a professor, so I better have a pretty high reading level. But for me, it is, do you have replay value? Like, I actually cherish rappers where I don't get it on the first time listening.
Most definitely.
If I get it the first time listening, then why do I have to go back to learn anything from you? You know, so the complexity of how you put it together, the rhyming schemes, all of that, all that's in flow for me. Next is what we were taught in 7th grade, literary elements, your 7th grade English class. The whole thing from metaphors, similes, hyperboles, onomatopoeias, double entendres. Do you make skillful use of those things? That's another criteria for me. And the third criteria, which is probably the most controversial, in my opinion, is content. Is what you're saying relevant? Is the content diverse? Are you just monolithic? Or do you speak on a broad range of things and can refer to a broad range of things? Also, because of just how I live my life, is what you're saying like worthy of my ear? You know, so, and I'll say this because shockingly, although I love Biggie, he's not in my top 10 or 15. It's just not. Because he did not live long enough, and you got to understand this. To me, he did not live long enough for his content to grow. He died in his second album, before his second album was released, and probably one of the most stretching of his content was "Sky's the Limit." You know, he was not afforded the opportunity to grow. Now, I believe had he lived, you would have seen him grow in his content. But you know, as much as I loved Ready to Die album, as much as I love Life After Death, the content to me still didn't grow. Big L, if you remember the rapper Big L from New York, his content didn't grow because he died young. So a lot of times that is a situation with me. The content for me gets me there. That's kind of the third, for me, the most controversial element. And I heard somebody sound shocked when I said Biggie wasn't. I love him as a lyricist. Yeah, but it's the content, man. For that reason, I think, who else can I say? Ice Cube. Start to see his content grow a little bit as he became a man, you know, but him, Eazy-E, content never grew, you know. And unfortunately, some of these people died so they wouldn't have that opportunity to grow. So that's my criteria. You don't have to agree with that, and I respect any criteria you bring to the table. So those are my 2 disclaimers. Let me get into mine really quick. I have at least 10 to about 18, and I'm gonna run through them very, very fast, and we'll have time throughout the semester to kind of dig deeper. And if you have any questions about them, by all means, feel free to ask. So my first one, number one, and is Rakim. Um, to me, there are two eras in rap music. There's pre-Rakim and post-Rakim. Pre-Rakim, every rapper rhymed like they were yelling at you, hurrah, and all that kind of stuff. You think about Run DMC and all those guys, they were just yelling. Even early LL Cool J was like this urgent yelling thing. Rakim cooled it out. And there's a rapper before Rakim called Tila Rock, but we only really had one song from him. But that style of being mellow, of having rhymes within rhymes, because everybody back then was, you know, da 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 hat, da 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 cat, da 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 spat. You know, Rakim came and put multi-syllable rhymes within a line. So it was just that thoughtful of how he put it together. He had the cadence. I mean, that I came in the door, I said it before. If you start that rhyme, everyone knows it. Thinking of a master plan, everyone knows that, you know. And he's probably the most quoted rapper in rap history. Like, there's no good rapper who has not borrowed a line from a Rakim song. And of course, the content, you know, was great because he was a 5%er. He could speak on multiple topics. He could speak on religion and things like that. So you got all of that stuff from him. And some people had to actually go back and listen to a lot of the stuff he said multiple times. He's probably the only rapper that could talk about love songs and get away with it with the streets. So he's my number one. My number two, Big Daddy Kane. He was the chief of the cadence. I mean, just how he entered into rhymes, how he flowed, how nobody wanted to rhyme after him in freestyle sessions. He was it at that time. So he came during a golden time of rap and lyricism, which is about 87 to about 90, 1987 to about 1990. But he had the style, he had the flow, he had the content. He dabbled in a little bit of the 5% stuff, so he could talk about social issues too. But he was just a master at the use of words. Number three, KRS-One, formerly of the group BDP or Boogie Down Productions. Once again, going back to that first album, Criminal Minded. People thought it was a gangster album because they had guns on the cover and all that kind of stuff. But when you listen to him, you listen to Elementary and Poetry and all that kind of stuff. He was telling stories. The rhyme schemes were great. It was just different from what you was hearing during that time period. So definitely, he has the lyricism, the literary elements. He has the content because he told stories that ranged on various content, but also the live show. If you've ever been to a KRS show, it's different. It's just the freestyling, all that stuff. He just had everything that hip hop represented. The next one, of course, is legendary, but most people don't know him because he came during that era of the yelling at you, that hurrah. In fact, that's one of his things, was this guy called Melly Mel. Melly Mel, the content and the lyricism was before his time. If you listen to the song from Beat Street, the movie, the Beat Street Breakdown, and listen to what he's saying, it is prophetic in the content that he put out. If you listen to the message is actually scary prophetic. And this is what made me love hip hop. He had a line in the song, The Message, broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the stage, you know, they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise, got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. That, when I heard that, though it seems like nothing, when I walked outside later on that day, guess what I saw? Broken glass everywhere. People pissing in the stairs, you know, they just don't care. Can't take the smell, can't take the noise, got no money to move out, guess I got no choice. That's how hip hop connected the world, because it was a kid sitting in Washington, D.C. who could visualize what this guy was saying, just as there was probably a kid sitting in Atlanta, Houston, Compton, all of those areas throughout the world, really, and they connected to what they were seeing. Guys like this created a visual. Now, the next person, my number five, and after this I'm gonna speed up, but after my number five, he just got into my top five, which is amazing to do because he's a right now rapper. And that's a guy named Skyzoo. Skyzoo, to me, he's probably been out for a little over a decade or so, but his lyrics are amazing. The way he puts it together, he complicates it. I promise you, if you ever listen to them, you're not going to get it all on the first try. You're going to have to listen to these songs several times over maybe the period of years to actually get everything that he's saying. So there's a line or a song that he has where it's him and his dad sitting in a movie theater, and they're rhyming about the father and son from Boys in the Hood, and how their lives kind of mimicked. And you don't get it till you actually hear him explain it at the very end of the song. But it's just the way he complicates the rhymes. It's not for everybody. But if you listen to anything he puts together, it is deep thought you got to get into. And it throws some people off, even friends of mine, because they don't get it the first time. And for me, that's what I like about him, is that I don't get it the first time. But I've got to go back and re-listen and be in a different frame of thought. He had one song called Steele's Apartment. Now, that didn't make any sense to you until you hear the hook that says it all started in Steele's apartment. And then when you go and peel back the rhyme, he's actually talking about the movie Juice. And if you remember the movie Juice with Tupac in it, it all started in Steele's apartment when they skipped school. And they watched Blizzard get killed in a robbery. And that's where everything ticked off from there. But his whole song is about how it all started in Steele's apartment. So it's complicated stuff, but you got to listen to it. It's really good stuff. The next, I'm going to speed through these next 5 because they're easy. Nas. The Illmatic album, probably the most anticipated album in hip-hop history. The first 5 Mike album. He was actually nicknamed the second coming of Rakim. Next, Black Thought. If you listen to Black Thought freestyle, do anything, even in the old movie Beef, I believe it was, where him and Questlove was outside and he was freestyling to whatever Questlove would point to. He would put it in the rhyme. But Black Thought is an absolute monster on the microphone. Next up, Joel Ortiz. If you listen to him in Slaughterhouse, if you listen to him in Slaughterhouse, you actually need a late pass because he's been killing it long before then, right? But he's a monster. Next, one of my favorites, Royce the 5'9". He's almost like not obviously, he's like Eminem with soul, but can flow over any beat, and he's relevant. He's got many topics. If you listen to the Book of Ryan, it is probably one of the most reflective albums you'll ever listen to. There's a song called Boblo Boat with him and what's his name, J. Cole. Is a monster. He got one called Power. My wife loves because it's about how dysfunctional his family was, but it kind of mirrors my brother and I. If you listen to that song Power, the drunk brother is my brother, But if you listen to it, it's a great thing. And if you ever check out the Bar Exam 4, it is insane. Number 10, MF Doom. I can't say enough about this dude. You just got to hear him. His lines are so complex. The lyricism is so crazy that you actually will spend time dissecting what he said and how he says it. It's just a monster. And then my honorable mentions, and you can take from any of them you want. I do give props to LL. I mean, he's nice. If you really give a listen to him, I know people just know him as a movie star or as the love guy, whatever, but he's good. Most Def, Fonte, North Carolina.
Yeah, little brother.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
LB, yeah. So Fonte is a monster with this for real. Of course, I got to give 3 Stacks and Big Boy.
He the best.
Their props.
30,000 to go.
Yeah.
The best.
3000 is a beast with his. I think we've messed him up though. I think the point, he can't make a comeback album because he'd have to invent words we've never heard before. It's like that Dre album that we were supposed to be getting years ago. It's like, can you come back right now? But also, I think people don't give Big Boy enough credit. Like, Big Boy got some stuff with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if I could interject. Arguably, Big Boy, that's why I put 3000 T.I. within my list. You go back to Outkast, to me, they the true originators of trap music.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had to say the one who really originated was Big Boy.
Oh, yeah, he definitely did. In fact,
but The thing with Andre 3000 though is when he had the Love Below, and like that influenced everybody to start singing. He was one of the first rappers to like have a whole album where he just singing about love songs and stuff. And now a lot of everybody's singing, so I just feel like he's just way more influential.
Oh, indeed. I think Big Boy Andre coined the phrase trap, because if I went to college in Atlanta, so I go back and forth, but the trap was actually a place, a real physical place off of Ashby Street. And he had a song, I guess it's on their Aquemini album, where he's like, now you in the trap. Trap. Yeah.
Spotty
after that,
Spotty delicious.
Yeah, that was dope. And ever since then, people been on that, but he actually put that out there. Some of my other ones, Big Pun, Lord Finesse, the Bronx rappers. Pun was a beast. Finesse was a beast that no one really knew like that, unless you were into digging in the crates and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then Crooked Eye, the West Coast. Another part of Slaughterhouse, but Crooked Eye is a monster. If you go listen to King Crooked or King Tut, so all that kind of stuff he's had, beast albums, man. You just gotta go and listen to all of those songs and how they put everything together. And the last brother, Pharaoh Monch, is a lyricist, untouchable. He says some things that are just so crazy with it and so thoughtful. But he also talks about real stuff. I mean, one of his last songs, Times Square, is about a guy getting laid off from work and decides to go to Times Square in New York and commit a massacre. So he talks about mental health. He talks about, like, people talk about Tupac and that whole Me and My Girlfriend was about him and a gun. Obviously, anybody who listened to that never listened to Nas's I Gave You Power.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm always saying. Like, Pac, he was great, but I feel like it was more of his personality and stuff that made him iconic, because you just looking at just lyrics by themselves. I feel like Nas was way better at that time. Big was just looking purely at lyrics. Nas, Big, even Jay, like a lot of people were better than him at that time. Like just in terms of flow and putting words together, but he just had that charisma and whatnot. He just had, I don't know, he just had that energy around him nobody else had.
And that's important because people don't like to say that. People don't like to admit that, but that's real true though. Yeah, it's real true though. I mean, but that was the kind of thing. Like Pharoah Monch had a song called "The Bullet," where he's rhyming not like the gun, but he's the actual bullet. I killed kings in Memphis, presidents in Dallas. So he's talking about JFK and Martin Luther King. But the stuff he talks about, man, is like grown man rap. Like between him and Fonte and LB, to me, they're grown man rap. Like you gotta do it and understand that. So those are my top 10 and my honorable mentions. Dr. Hunter, you up next.
All right. Is there a way I'm gonna put mine on slideshow?
Cool. All right, so I just stopped share. Go to the bottom where you see the share. You should see like that green share button.
Okay.
Click that. And you'll see kind of where there you go.
Let me see if it's the right one.
Oh, he got to get a background too, right?
Okay, yeah. I'm flipping it, but it's not going.
Use your arrows.
Let me try it. Oh, okay, these arrows. All right. Let me make sure. All right, greetings, Will Hunter again. This is my top 15. And again, with the course, what we're going to look at, we're actually going to look at DJing, elements of dance, breakdancing, graffiti, but our main focus, as Dr. Robinson indicated, is going to be the lyrics, the lyricism, the MCs. So in the spirit of the course, I'm going to give my top 15, which is very fluid. To give you a little background for me, I'm originally from Cincinnati. I think the one rapper we had from Cincinnati, y'all may laugh, is Jabri the Wise One. Remember that, Dr. Robinson?
I remember him.
So I say that Cincinnati is not like Memphis, or ATL, or New York, or LA, or Houston, or Florida that puts out a lot of rappers. So we can't say that we boast high tech, who was, with Mos Def and Talib Kweli. He's a DJ. So with that said, being from the Natty really forced me to listen to all type of other rappers. We didn't really have none to rock with me. Cleveland is 3 or 4 hours away, and of course, Cleveland has Bone, Thugs and Harmony. But I grew up listening to hip hop, East Coast, West Coast. I was more into groups, so I'm looking forward to that top 15 groups. I'm into battle rap, listen to battle rap and lyrics, but my content moving forward for time's sake is broken down in lyricism, so not to be repetitive, but what Dr. Robinson indicated as far as literary devices, ability, wordplay, word puns, create content. So with my top 15, to be able to talk more about, excuse my French, all a nigga knows is money, hoes, and clothes. Go a little bit further than that in terms of what we're actually talking about, and then the impact on the culture. And this is where you'll see a Tupac come in within my 15, because you're looking at the culture, or a Biggie, impact on culture, impact on region. And my 15 is fluid. Let's leave it at that. All right, so honorable mention, no order. If I look at T.I. because of the influence on ATL trap music, I know we talked about Big Boy originated, but T.I. took it to a whole nother level. And then it's the lyricism that's involved in the way how he delivers as Tip, the Trouble Man, what have you. One of my favorite groups of all time, maybe second to Tribe and Wu-Tang, is Black Star. I created a system called Delicate to really do a hybrid of both, Mos Def and Talib Kweli. If this is like, in my humble opinion, top 10 album of all time. But then this is like true hip hop underground. And then Cube, when I'm saying Cube as far as the culture, he's the one that wrote the majority of NWA's first album, the songs, whether Dope Man, After Police, Straight Outta Compton. He was actually the writer. And then, NWA really sparked the whole method, or the whole content on the West Coast. So we gotta give them credit there. Now I created a delegate, me being a big Wu fan, and it's like I just didn't think it was fair, like to leave these cats out because they were top of a group. So I created a hybrid of one person, and then I took like the top 3 Wu-Tang members that were featured on albums, featured on mixtapes, and there's these 3 with Meth to your left, which the catchphrases, the puns. To Cal being the first album, I mean, crazy. Ghostface is one, I know when we think about storytellers, and if we go top 20, 25, Slick Rick will be in it, but he's not in this particular one. But go from a street perspective, Ghost and Ray are the dopest storytellers, in my humble opinion, out there. And they did it with longevity, a lot of features. And then they also get to that substance where, Ghost talks about the people in his family, his two brothers with physical disabilities. Like, how many rappers open up about people with disabilities and their family and really talk about it? So that's, salute to Ghost there. And then Ray, really, in my humble opinion, took the Scarface raps to a whole nother level. Cuban Links album came out in '95. I mean, just the lyrics on there, top notch. My 14 is Kendrick Lamar, Pulitzer Prize winner. Impact, like, I probably listened to the DNA song, even though it's arguably a commercial song, not on his underground, probably about 100 times. And this the concept behind that, as far as just what's embedded in his DNA, the loyalty. Like, I mean, you talk about connecting with a person, it's listening to when Kendrick Lamar, when he rhymes, it's like an instant connection, like Lego or Voltron, going old school with you. Face. Now I'm talking about the impact on the culture. And Face, like, to me, was the first rapper that talked about mental health in an explicit way. With my mind playing tricks on me. And then he also really helped, in my humble opinion, slam the door. So if you can argue UGK did it around that time, but he really opened the doors for Houston rap. So that's where the impact on the culture came. And then I don't know if it's a little known fact, but he was on Def Jam South, which produced Ludacris and some other artists from the South. So he really had a strong impact, in my humble opinion, in terms of Southern hip hop.
Folks, let me stop you right there real quick.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I had to put everybody on mute real fast because I think we was getting some feedback. But if you want to jump in, all you got to do is unmute yourself.
Please jump in.
Jump in and enter the conversation, man. I appreciate y'all being in there like this.
Yeah, please jump in. Like I said, so far I covered the Wu-Tang Delegate, Kendrick Lamar, Scarface. I'm looking at my list holistically, and you talk about battle rappers. If I was in Vegas, I'll put it on Lauryn Hill. And I had to really think about this because if you go back to Lost Ones, and allegedly it was Wyclef who she was talking about, but I don't think she gets enough credit for a battle rapper. Then she messed around and the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, half of it, the majority of it was R&B songs that still to this day that will rock a joint. And then the Fuji album, like the first Fuji album was a little shaky. But the second one, I mean, Lauryn Hill was the one that spearheaded that Fuji album, for them to blow up. So she did this with only 2 or 3 albums body of work, but just the impact of Lauryn Hill. If you don't believe me, listen to Talib Kweli. He did a song, in essence, talk about "We Miss You, Lauryn Hill, come back." Like, how many rappers are going to rap about somebody that we miss them? And her influence is crazy. Like right now, if she come to Memphis, the Orpheum, she'll sell out within 10 minutes of that.
She'll be 2.5 hours late though.
Yeah, she may not show up, but the tickets will sell out. So I mean, two of my holistic list, I had to have a woman represent because we can't eliminate, the women's impact on hip hop. We're gonna talk about women's impact, now. I struggle with some of the women rappers now. Digress, get off. If, like, for example, Lil Wayne is not on my list, LL Cool J is not on my list. Reason being is that there is rumors, and Kanye is not on my list. There's rumors of them having ghostwriters. So I had to take them out. So everybody on my list, there's not substantial evidence. I did my little PI investigative work where these people had ghostwriters. So that's the reason.
You think Lil Wayne has ghostwriters?
Oh, yeah. I think his ghostwriter came from Philly. I forget the name at the top.
Gilly.
But yeah.
The whole fireman.
If you Google Lil Wayne ghost rapper, then you'll see about 10 or 15.
I mean, I heard that rumor too. I heard about Gilly too, but I'm just saying, like, all the stuff, Wayne, he had some pretty trash punchlines. You got a ghostwriter, you need to fire that dude, bro. Because he had a lot of good lines, but he had a lot of whack punchlines about the Dear Mr. Toilet, I'm the shit, these other niggas, but he had a lot of whack lines, bro. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think what it is, and that probably proves it though, because once again, Gilly wrote the first Carter and I believe half of Carter 2. Carter 3,
okay.
Carter 4, Carter whatever. That's when you start getting those like, what did he just say? But yeah, that's
Carter 5 was actually all right though. Carter 5 was actually all right. Carter 4 was trash, but Carter 5 was actually all right.
Yeah, I get that.
And then Rhymefest, I mean, if you look at the special on Showtime, Rhymefest has written for Kanye. In fact, when Kanye fell out with Rhymefest, it had an extreme impact on his music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rhymefest a monster.
I'm gonna put Snoop on, and Snoop, I struggled with Snoop. Why? Because he had, to y'all point, he had some whack lyrics in some of his albums. But then when I look at the documentary, Snoop has to be helpful for Dr. Dre because Snoop would freestyle a lot. And it's like 2 other people on this list that, by rumor, they could freestyle a whole album. And Snoop is one of them. But I think with Snoop, he relied on his freestyle a little too much. But you can't argue his impact on the culture in terms of not necessarily the movies or Cooking with Martha Stewart or anything like that. But then really like when Nipsey Hussle came out, it almost like, even though he, in my humble opinion, a lot deeper than Snoop, and you know, when you get into his rhymes, when he first came out, I saw Snoop. So that's just one example where how Snoop influenced the whole coast, and that's his impact on the culture. I think lyrically, like Snoop, I mean, he's definitely not on top 15 because of lyric. I think his impact on culture and creative content pushed him on. But the lyricism, if I had to use a rubric, was definitely his weakest one in comparison of other people on this list. Dre 3000 is within my top 10.
Yeah.
Boy, just if you listen to that International Players anthem, you know, the first verse, I mean, that's all you got to say. Like,
yeah.
I would say, I'm a peninsula. Like this cat has the ability to tell a story. And again, excuse my French, like my cut, I probably listened to 200 times, was crumbling or draws falling down like ends in the drive-by. Like, who says that?
Yeah.
Like this cat, like, and he was on some you know, deep spirituality, but not affiliated with Christianity or being a Muslim or 5%er. But still, you could tell when there's a spiritual context when Dre hits the mic. I gotta go with Big Daddy Kane. Like, and this is my biasness with Big Daddy Kane. I don't know if you can see the resemblance between me and him, but before you know, Big Daddy Kane came out, I'm a dark-skinned brother, so I didn't get too much love back when I was in middle school. But when Big Daddy Kane came out, it raised my game up totally. So I'm biased toward Big Daddy Kane because he made it cool to be dark-skinned for real. Colorism is a whole nother thing we can talk about in this course. But reality, Big Daddy Kane, in my humble opinion, opened the door for the R&B collaboration because he had Teddy Riley out of Guy really writing a lot of his songs. But arguably, this is a detriment to Big Daddy Kane. Like the hip hop was not ready for that R&B transition, and he started it. And arguably, like if you look at documentaries, Jay-Z attributes where he is at because of Big Daddy Kane. So Big Daddy Kane really opened the doors for cats like Jay-Z. However, when he came out, it was just before his time. I think what messed him up too is taking that picture with Madonna.
That messed him up. And I think also being dark-skinned and talking about love, because LL had done that for years, you know. But being who he was, he just wasn't. It was America had to kind of look at him as a sex symbol and all that kind of stuff. And it was just difficult. Also, he had a street cred, you know. So how do you balance both? But you're right. Jay-Z got his start through Jazzo, but also ultimately through Kane. So he borrowed a lot from Kane. Someone was saying that you can actually trace, if you look at Biggie, Nas, and Jay, you can trace them directly to Kane, Rakim, to Kane and Rakim, because Easy Mo B was the person who put on Puff and put on Biggie and all them, and they all kind of came through together, but they borrowed them styles. Sorry to interrupt, man. I just had to.
No, you're good. That's what, fellas, I think we got one that's saying iPhone, James, Carl, I'm at 9. Y'all got any insight before I move forward?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Carl,
okay, yeah, this is James, and I really like the fact that you put Lauryn Hill on your list. You was mentioning about some of the other female rappers that are out. I really listen to Rhapsody a lot. I mean, her lyrics is, you know, hey, I'm sorry, man, but she's like on a whole nother level. You know, when I listen to her music, it's not even about a female. You know, like that last Funk Flex freestyle she did, he was like, this wasn't the baddest females out. No, cuz she wasn't the baddest rappers out. Yeah. Like her punchlines was hard.
Indeed, yeah. She's a definite beast, man.
And I mean, I'm biased toward her because she did that track with the Jizza. Like, so I'm already rocking with
her. Exactly.
Common. Now, this cat, like I wouldn't want to battle this cat either. Like, and Eminem is not on my list because he did not, in my humble opinion, did not impact the culture. Lyrically, top 10, you can argue, but in my opinion, like what has Eminem has done for his privilege to impact the culture. That's something we're going to talk about within the course. I'll leave it at that. But Common had one of the best battle raps against Q. Google if you don't remember.
Bitch in you.
Yes. Where Minister Farrakhan out of Nation of Islam had to intervene after that rap. Literally. He stepped in between both of them. So you body someone so bad where the minister Farrakhan had to come in and squash the beat. There's nothing else to be said. I mean, he's a Grammy winner, Tony Award winner too, right? I know he just won several awards as far as impact culture. I know he's the producer of The Shy, like one of my favorite movies on. My favorite premium series on Showtime. Like he does so much. Lyrically, I just don't think he gets his due. Like if you really listen to him, goes back to Dr. Robinson's point, I have to go back and rewind, listen to Common again on the majority of his rhymes because the stuff he says goes over your head initially. Because his cadence, like to me, his cadence, like he has the ability to ride a beat too, like crazy. And he's a freestyler. I mean, when he was at the Essence Festival, we saw him and the young man going back and forth for about 10, 15 minutes on Facebook. So, I mean, yeah. Black Thought, don't let the fact that he's on
with Jimmy Fallon.
Please don't let that fool you. The Fun Flex one, 2017, 10-minute freestyle. I think he may have took a 2-second break to drink. I don't even think he took that. He went straight 10 minutes. The Roots first album, the one with I Shall Proceed. If you haven't listened to that, I strongly recommend to go back to that first album. Like that's like when I was at the University of Cincinnati as an undergrad student, I was the type of cat I had twists, fatigues, Timbs. I put on and then the backpacks. I was a backpacker, and I had this in the rotation all the time. That first Roots album. Dope. Jay-Z. I struggle with Jay-Z for a variety of reasons because I think I'm at a better place with him now, but at one point in the midst of his career, I had struggles as far as how was he using his platform, but behind the scenes, he's doing good things in terms of the charity work. So, I mean, again, my personal, I struggle with him. But the reason why he's on here, in my humble opinion, is because of Reasonable Doubt. First album, The Friend or Foe. Like, if you don't know that one, go listen to that. Can I Live is like, in my opinion, supreme classic. And then, his catalog. You can't argue with his catalog. Can't argue with his impact on culture. First rap billionaire. I mean, you gotta give props to him on that.
And at any club, he owns an hour. So if you go to any grown folks club, there's a whole hour set that a DJ will play where you just get about 12 to 15 Jay-Z songs.
Yeah.
I mean, he owns an hour of that night.
You can't argue
on his work.
Yeah, you can't. Now I'm getting into the Concrete. And the Concrete mind, Biggie. Got ready to die. Again, he kind of, in my humble opinion, took Scarface's My Mind Playing Tricks on Me to a different level when we talk about mental health. And think about, like, being a Black male. Have you ever had a thought like Ready to Die? Based
suicidal thoughts.
A string of bad days, a string of bad days. Like he really, and then another thing with Biggie, like he did start the Money Clothes a la Nose. However, I was thinking about this, is like why do I dress up? Like why do I spend money on a gold chain at 44? Or my chain is But why do I spend money on that? Or, you know, and I do have, you know, I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm saying like I do got Versace frames on that, but why am I doing that? And then I think about this is that growing up, people went to Goodwill. I got clothes from Goodwill. I had plastic shoes from Payless. And it's thinking about like, and I think about these cats like as Black males, we're attacked so much. And this could be, you can argue this could be a terrible argument. This is my opinion, like, why not look good? Because our character is always attacked, no matter what we do. Like, I'm a Baltimore Raven fan. And all that hate on Lamar Jackson is just, I'm not understanding. Like, if he did half the stuff that Baker Mayfield done, then, I understand. I'm just thinking about Black males, and why do we look at the clothes, why we look good? In my opinion, as my reflection was just more of, man, like, we attack, so we, you know, you're gonna attack a good looking dude. So, but going back to lyrically, I mean, Biggie, you know, as far as his mixtape, like, to me, my favorite Biggie rhymes on the mixtapes, like when he's rapping over the Snoop beats, like, to me, that's like the vintage Biggie. Or, you know, going back to Ready to Die, which I like better than the Life After Death, but like The Warning, or how he ended that Kwame's career, like your life is played out like Kwame and Polka Dots, who rocks the spot, Biggie. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, no more, you know, for time's sake.
Right.
Pac, impact on culture. I agree with what y'all say as far as lyricism. I mean, it's not as bad as Snoop, but I think with content, like we're rather going back to early Pac with Brenda's Happy Baby, Keep Your Head Up.
Yeah.
Dear Mama, no one was doing this. Everybody was hard. Everybody, you know, don't smile. Everybody's hard. And Pac put the soul into it. So that's where that content came in with me and with Pac. And one of my favorite Pac songs is the when he said they call me violent, just because I refuse to be silent. And then the hook of this the way what the people want. Like, Pac really had an influence, Public Enemy influence. It was not in my top 15 honorable mentions, but by the top 50, I'll find somewhere to put Public Enemy. Nas. Best sellers.
Yeah.
7. If you watch the Netflix Roxanne Shante, I didn't know that Roxanne Shante had an influence on Nas.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the Netflix special, and at the very end, you'll see what I'm talking about if you haven't seen that yet. So, yeah, Nas, I mean, arguably probably had the best battle rap, you know, Ether.
He dropped it on Jay-Z's birthday, though.
like, I mean,
no. I think Jay got him to take over. I'm a Nas fan, but I think Jay got him.
Yeah.
I didn't know he dropped it on his birthday. That's cold.
Yeah, I just gonna move forward for time's sake. KRS-One, the teacher. Now, there's some people that really goes into KRS-One and say that some of the things he says inaccurate. Look at Google up and see. But KRS-One came right on time for me as a high school student, where there was a Black history class. Let me give you this context. And again, I'm not making it racial. I'm just giving you context. We did have a Black history class taught by a white guy who was a track coach, but then I was the easiest A in the course, or easiest A in the high school. So really being exposed to Black history and Black teachings and reflection of self, KRS-One was someone that really did it. Like, I, to this day, listen to My Philosophy. I can listen to that 2 or 3 times right now, back to back. And this, you know, is the thought process. It's teaching us how to be thinkers. If you listen to his songs, that's the concept I got, like the art of thinking, which is something that I really talked about a lot. And my last one is Rakim, because you know, to me, he's the originator. And the thing I didn't know, if you go back on the Breakfast Club, just to make it relevant to the group, the one thing I didn't know about Rakim, that he was for real street dude. But he was a real street dude. So And he even talked about how producers like Dr. Dre, when he was on Aftermath, tried to get him to talk about street life. But the way, again, I'm not saying the way I grew up, I'm a middle. I can hang with the nerds, I can hang with the street dudes. I was a medium dude. But no, being a medium dude, I know that the street dudes, the for real street dudes, didn't talk about what they did. Mm-hmm. So I always thought that was interesting that Rakim was a street dude, but like Dr. Robinson said, was a 5%er. And if you don't know about the 5%, kind of look at some of their tenets, the knowledge itself, and then Wu-Tang, their foundation is out the 5%ers too. But I think, and we're gonna talk about that within the course, just the knowledge itself and like how that connects to hip hop and hip hop education. So that's my list.
All right. Gentlemen, let's open this up because I know y'all got a list. So let's jump into it. Start. Any one of you want to jump in first? Introduce yourself. Give us your list, whether it's 5 or 10 or what have you. Let's just talk it out.
Well, hello everybody. All three of y'all. It's I'm Carl Blesso Jr. As this shows, I signed up for this class, and next semester is about to be really musical, so I'm really excited about that. I also have a blues class I'm taking and the intro to music, but I've always been into, writing before I got into hip hop, and my introduction was kind of late. I feel like it started in about maybe 7th grade because, my dad's a pastor. So it was just straight freaking, and I grew up around a bunch of white people. So it was straight Caleb up until like 7th grade, 6th grade, But my top, for me, my top maybe, I'll do top 3. No, I'm gonna try to do top 5. For me, my number 1 is Tupac because I just like his poetry, like aside from all the raps and stuff too. Like, I have a book of his poetry, The Rose That Grew from Concrete and stuff like that. It's like, I read that like it's a second Bible or something. Like, I love that. And he also did like acting, all this other stuff that I'm also like into doing other stuff besides just writing. Number 2 for me is Nas, really because of how he introduced me to a lot of stuff that I had to like do research on, like with like Black history. Like when he talked about he said something about the pharaohs, and no, not the pharaohs, the nose being shot off by Alexander the Great. He was shocked by the mountains with black faces. I was like, hold on. What? And then the song like I Can, that's like inspirational and stuff. Like I love that kind of stuff. And then he could also really hurt people's feelings with Ethan. My number 3, it's gotta be Lauryn Hill. Because like I said, my upbringing was very like religious and stuff, and the fact that she blended that so well with hip hop, and then also the lyricism and the flow. Like she has this flow. What song is that on? It's from the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, but also was she who? That's a question. Who was the first person to like incorporate like a class and like children's interviews and stuff into a legit album? Because I don't know, but that's like become a thing, I feel like. Just like a children's voice and how it's like innocent and just playing with all that, like being a kid and saying stuff. My number 4, me, I like Kanye. Like when he dropped the college dropout, because context. I was a college dropout like last year, and I didn't really view myself as that for the longest time. But then I thought about it, I was like, yo, you stopped going to college, dude. You are technically a college dropout, like you're not enrolled right now. So when that hit me, I was like, dang, that's another statistic, Carlos. I was like, okay, well, anyway, you see I'm back. But when he said, I like the song Roses, like, he said, I know it's past visiting hours, but can I please give her these flowers? Like that, I don't know. Yeah, some of that stuff, like earlier stuff like that. And then sometimes like there are glimpses of it and stuff like past that after his mom passed away. Like the song Saint Pablo off of the Life of Pablo album. That I looked up some of those lyrics for a movement paper I had to do for this past semester, like creating your own like movement, like the civil rights movement, which I think is gonna happen, just saying. But he was saying some stuff like vintage Kanye, and I was like, all right, like you still in there a little bit, all right. And then my number 5, I don't even. That's tough. I don't know, because for me, I like to see. I don't really have like any young people you see on the list, because I like to see how far you're gonna go or what you're still gonna be doing when you're older. You know, like longevity is big for me, because it's a lot of instant successes and stuff like that, and people getting praised off of stuff like that. I'm like, you haven't done that much, you know. So I don't even know if I have a number 4 right now. I'm gonna leave that open. I'm in number 5. I'm gonna leave that open.
Respect that. Respect that. Thank you for your input, man. Appreciate it. I like that. I like your list. iPhone. I don't. Yeah, I don't see your name on here, but
I know that. I ain't put it on there yet.
Want to hear from you, brother?
Yeah, I'm Damien. So nice to meet y'all. I'm really excited to take this class and stuff. I'm passionate about hip hop a lot. And my top 5, when you gonna get into it, number 1 would probably be Nas, because it's just like I know I was one of the only ones where I'm from Mississippi. I'm from like a small town in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. I know I was like one of the only dudes growing up listening to Nas. Folks used to look at me weird, like, bro, what is that? Why is he talking all about this? You read all this book shit, read all this smart book shit and stuff. What's wrong with you? And like, I just liked it though, because he was like a hood dude, but he was an intellectual, and I like reading books growing up, so I identified with him. And he could just tell so many different stories. Like he told this story from the perspective of a cockroach on the Untitled album, and then he told the story backward on Rewind from I think that was Stillmatic. Then he told a story from the perspective of a woman, Seku's story on Street Disciple. Like I can name his whole discography. Like some people just be like, "Oh, Illmatic was great," and he fell off, and I'm like, "Bro, y'all not listening." Like he stepped up his beats. He had so many interesting stories. God's Son might be my favorite album, because I can where he was talking about the Greeks. They came over and they was influenced by the Africans, and they learned books in the first library. Like that's just like other dudes said earlier, Carl. Like I just learned so much stuff from Nas. Like I just would look up his lyrics and be like, "Oh, dog, this 5% of the stuff, knowledge, freedom, understanding, equality, and power, and all that 5%. Yeah, I mess with it. So I mess with Nas heavy. And then like just the variety, he can give you that like smart African theology and all that. And then he can talk about some emotional stuff, like with Khalees, his ex-wife Khalees on the Life is Good album. He talked about breaking up from her on Bye Baby and stuff like that. And he talked about his daughter, and I was a player back in the day, and all these dudes gonna be trying to talk to my daughter. I'm gonna be waiting with a sawed off. Nas, he's just one of the illest to me. Like the only knock I can say on Nas is that sometimes he chooses some very sleepy, horrible beats. He chooses some NyQuil inducing beats. Like, bro, like I don't want to listen to this. The words was dope, my guy. But this beat, I'm like, who told you this was a good idea? Because it's not. But second would probably be Andre 3000, because like I said earlier, I feel like with Love Below, I already stated it earlier, like he just influenced so many of these generations to start singing, because that album was like 80% singing about love, his own experiences with it. And then I took it, like I said, like I'm from Mississippi, I'm from the South, and like that was one of the first Southern dudes where I was like, okay, niggas from the South can really spit and be lyrical. Like Andre 3000, I feel like he can go toe to toe with almost any of like the greats, like Nas, Jay. I feel like his flow is just so creative and stuff. And like the stories he would tell. I'm a big fan of storytelling. But on here told on Elevators when he said, I met a friend the other day, I saw him the other day. He was like, "Hey man, remember from school?" "Nah man, not really." He kept smiling like a clown, facial expression looking silly. Like he could paint them pictures where like Big Boy probably does have a better candidacy for saying he's better, because he actually has more solo albums and he stays on topic with the song. But 100,000 it's just a personal thing with me. It's like a spirituality. the spirituality and the love and all that stuff.
That
So,
freestyle at the end of The Love Below is a monster.
Oh yeah, that's so underrated. The day in the life of Benjamin Andre, or life in the day of Benjamin Andre. Man, that whole thing. He said, I met I can't even remember off the top of my head right now, but he was talking about meeting Big Boy at the dungeon. And he was like, "Are these niggas in the dungeon up to something, selling crack day by day so they can function?" Well, yes and no. Yes, we were selling it, but no, it went below. Packaging and then sell at the stadiums, and everybody like, man, 100,000, he's out of here. So then third would probably be Kendrick Lamar, and a lot of people be like, "Oh, he's new or whatever, and he hasn't had much time." Or if he was in the '90s era, he wouldn't be hard like that. But to me, I just feel like you can't use the new argument all the time, or the fact that he was influenced. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, but he was influenced by older." But I always use this example right here whenever they talk about he was influenced by like Pac and all that. With me, it's like, okay, what if you were a basketball player in high school, but then you made it out, went to college, and you sucked, and you didn't make the draft, and you averaged like 2 points your whole season, and then you had a son, and you taught your son all the basics and ends out of basketball, and your son went to high school, balled out in college, dropped 20 points, and went number 1 in the draft. Who's a better ball player, you or your son? But you taught your son, though. So are you saying that just because you influence somebody, they can't be better than you? Yes, Kendrick was heavily influenced by Pac, but he took it to the next level, and he surpassed Pac, in my opinion. But it's just from his lyrical ability to, like, just everything. Like, To Pimp a Butterfly was one of the most creative albums I've ever heard, bro. It's like the plight of the black man and how we make it out with music from the hood, but the music industry tries to pimp us and take advantage of us through all these contracts and stuff. And then how we still institutionalize, even though we escaped the hood physically, mentally, that's all we used to. That's why you see all these rappers who like constantly get in trouble with like guns and drug charges. It's like, bro, just because you took me out of this environment and put me in Hollywood Hills or somewhere, I ain't spent all my upbringing in the freaking country of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, or whatever. I'm not used to all this glamour and all this. So yeah, I'm still acting up and wilding out or whatever. So just everything, like Kendrick is just the illest with this. Even I feel like with Untitled Unmastered, which was just a bunch of unmastered demos and stuff like that, I feel like that might be his best project. Because I feel like that's another thing that makes Kendrick one of the best, is like his discography. You can't really pinpoint, like, Butterfly was good, but Damn was good, even though people feel it was like super commercial and all that. I feel like just because you had a commercial beats doesn't necessarily make it a commercial album, because you listen to this song deeper, all the metaphors about wickedness and weakness and whatnot, it's just, he's super out of here. So Kendrick is definitely number 3. And then this is where it gets kind of iffy. It usually switches out. Like I'm always changing when I get around to like here. So I think 4 would probably be, it might be Lil Wayne. And I might look into some ghostwriting room that I heard thick, because if he has a ghostwriter, I can't even put him on the list no more. But as of now, it would probably be Wayne, because I just feel like I'm young, so I just turned 20 last month. So I grew up in the early 2000s. I grew up on Wayne and stuff. And I feel like you can compare Wayne kind of to, like, you had to make a basketball analogy, you can compare him to like Kobe, because it's like he came out with the Hot Boys, and like just like Kobe came out young, he went really he was on the bench at first. He went averaging a lot, but then in the early 2000s, both of them started blowing up. Kobe was having back-to-back games with like 30 points or whatnot, and Wayne was dropping back-to-back mixtapes where he was just freestyling over all these hot singles and just killing everybody. He had all the dope wordplay and all these like words. It's like he could just play with word phrases and get creative, and just the Drought 3, one of the most classic projects ever. Even if it's just a mixtape, it's better than some albums. The Drought 3, Dedication 2, it was just building up to the Carter 3, where it was just, the Carter 3 he had Dr. Carter, where he was a surgeon trying to theoretically save hip-hop and stuff, and he was using metaphors. He said, I fly, go hard like geese erection. Like, he was just, the stuff that was coming out of this man's mind. Then when I found out that he don't even write his stuff no more, he would just go in the studio and freestyle it, drink some lean or whatever. I was like, how can you freestyle some of this stuff? Like, bro, this is go over your head at first. He would just have all these clever little lines, even like with little freestyles currently now that he has. I was just listening to one. He was freestyling over Pac's Hail Mary, and he just played with that same little phrase, like just over and over and over, just constantly playing with the word and stretching words and playing with syllables. It's just how he was just relentless with it, and just constantly just dropping remixes and I don't know. It's just it's a person. It's an age thing to a degree too. Like I said, grew up in the 2000s, so I witnessed the height of Wayne. Like I witnessed the come up and like him being the hottest rapper person like ever. So yeah, Wayne probably before. Even though like sometimes his content, sometimes he sounds like a little boy. Like, dude, you almost 40 and you still talking about this basic money, cars, clothes, and stuff, bro. Like, talk about your kids. Talk about how you getting older in the game, how you influence these guys and stuff. You still want to talk about like, I don't know. Sometimes Wayne just be out there. I'm like, nah, dude, don't write that down. But number 5, with it's tough, man. It would probably is between J. Cole and there's this other underground dude that not too many people know named Jay Electronica. He's from New Orleans. You heard of him? Jay Electronica. I got put onto like a couple of years back. I got onto him, and I feel like Jay Electronica was just
Exhibit A.
so dope. Exhibit A, exactly. Exhibit A, Exhibit C. Like he had a whole mixtape of underground. He just had a bunch of stuff, and it's like the only thing that made me mad with him is like, dude, drop more music. Like he just fell off. He married a Rothschild. And he was just out of there. He was like, oh yeah, I'll drop it in time. I'll drop the album. And I used to. Man, when I was in high school, I used to stay. Like, did he drop it today? I'd go in line. Did Jay trying to grab a mixtape today? Did he drop it today? Did he drop it today? He never dropped it. And I just be like, dog. I just feel like he was just so dope to me. Like Jay Electronica, Exhibit C. And then he's talking about the stuff I like. He was talking about the 5% of theology and Islam and Millions of Farrakhan. I love that stuff. Like Autobiography of Malcolm X, my favorite book. So then he would just talk about all that type of material and everything. I just feel like Jay Electronica, if he would have just went through and dropped the album and everything and came, and I feel like he easily could have been the top of our generation of the 2010s, but nah. So, but yeah, it's either Jay Electronica or J. Cole. That's probably it. That's top 5.
Right. Oh man, I like that. I like that. That's dope. Shoot, man, listen, we almost past our time, I know, but I can honestly say I thoroughly enjoyed talking to y'all today, man. This is real. But this is kind of how the course gonna be, man. Just bring your energy, bring your ideas, man. One thing about me, man, because I've been in public schools and then also in colleges, man, I don't really deal with the age thing because I know who I am, but I also respect and listen to what people younger than me got to say, you know. And I think Dr. Hunter and I are both on that same page. So it ain't gonna be like, that's whack because y'all little young bucks don't know nothing. You know, I always say, bring your criteria, bring your proof, bring your evidence, and you know, I will listen. You know, because there's a lot of new cats out here that I like. You know, so once again, I appreciate y'all time, man, and this is kind of how it's gonna feel. So you bring your energy to it. You know, Dr. Hunter, you got any words?
I mean, Dr. Robinson, appreciate you putting this together. Our students who are with us, appreciate you being here. You know, I got a 22-year-old, so I'm connected to culture. Like she tried to convince me that the Migos are tight. I can't really vote. I'll listen to them because I DJ too, and they can't get a party going. I will say that.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they say, man, it's like I get a headache after a while.
My son is 27 and he's a music engineer at 12 studios in Atlanta. And I just actually, because I have a student here, I'm actually in Charlotte right now. I have a former student of mine that rhymes, and he sent me a bunch of his music today that I forwarded on to my son. It was like, if you're looking for an artist, I got a kid up here who I've known him since he was in high school. And this kid, I mean, you reach a point when you write so much that you don't need to write anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where he is at. And this kid, I mean, his content gotta grow, but he's 19, you know, and he's a 19 street kid, you know. So I respect him and I love what he do and I love him as a person. So I try to get him connected to my son and see whatever they can do for him because he deserves his break. You know, he deserves the opportunity to put stuff out there, man.
Yeah. And then two, we just want to take this course where it could be a model. Like I enjoy just being out there, meeting y'all colleagues, and getting away from the office in our building. Like we want to use this as a model to connect with the students and build that community for our students. And you can interpret that any type of way you want. But we just want to use this as a vehicle to get that conversation and get that connection started.
All right, folks, with that said, I'm going to let y'all go. I am recording this, so I will make sure I get it back to y'all if y'all want to go back and reflect on it, just have fun with it and things like that. But I appreciate the talk. We just created content, to be discussed. So any other questions? Y'all will be getting the syllabus fairly soon. We start some last minute things to put on there, but we'll make sure you have everything you need. We look forward to seeing y'all next semester.
Word.
All right.
Appreciate you talking to us,
Take care, y'all.
All right, peace, y'all.
Peace.